Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to thrive when things get tough, while other people kind of crumble? Well, it all boils down to one simple, powerful idea, researched for decades by the psychologist Carol Dweck. Today, we're going to dive into her amazing work on what she calls mindset. And trust me, it might just change how you think about, well, everything.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Just think about it for a second. Do you believe that your intelligence, your talents, your basic personality, are they just fixed? Or do you believe they're things you can develop over your lifetime?
Well, according to all of Dweck's research, your answer to that one simple question reveals what she calls your mindset. And that single belief, it turns out, is one of the most powerful forces in your life. It can literally predict success in school, business, sports, even in your relationships. It's a really big deal.
So, if you believe your qualities are basically set in stone, you've got what Dweck calls a fixed mindset. For someone with this view, the goal in life is to constantly prove you've got a lot of those fixed traits. It's all about looking smart, looking talented, and, whatever you do, never, ever look dumb.
But if you believe your basic qualities are things you can grow and cultivate, you have a growth mindset. From this perspective, the hand you're dealt is really just your starting point. The goal isn't to prove you're great, it's to become great through putting in the effort and learning as you go.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting, because these two mindsets create completely different worlds for people to live in. Just look at this breakdown. In the fixed mindset, your goal is to prove yourself. So a challenge? Whoa, that's a threat. What if you fail? Effort is seen as a bad thing. If you were a real genius, you wouldn't need it. And failure? Well, failure defines you. But in the growth mindset, the goal is to improve. So a challenge is an opportunity. Effort is the essential ingredient for success. And failure, it's not the end. It's just a chance to learn something new.
All right, let's dig a little deeper into that whole idea. How do these two mindsets really react when things get tough? When you're staring down a huge challenge or dealing with a pretty painful failure.
Okay, so this right here, this is the core belief of the fixed mindset. The thinking goes, if you're a true, natural talent, things should just come easily to you. The second you have to put in real effort, it casts this shadow of doubt on your ability. It means, hey, maybe you're not as gifted as everyone thought. And for someone in a fixed mindset, that is absolutely terrifying.
And that fear, it can be totally paralyzing. Get this, there's a story about the violin prodigy Nadia Salerno-Sonnenberg. She was so haunted by this idea that at Juilliard, one of the best music schools in the world, she actually stopped bringing her violin to her lessons. Why? Because if you don't really try, you've always got an excuse, right? You can say, oh, I could have done it if I'd wanted to. But if you give it your absolute all and you still fail, well, that strips away every last one of your excuses.
So when people with a fixed mindset do fail, what happens? They often try to repair their self-esteem by blaming something or someone else. The tennis legend John McEnroe was the absolute master of this. A loss was never, ever his fault. It was a fever, a bad back, the weather, he was overtrained, he was undertrained, literally anything but a reflection of his own performance.
Now, on the complete flip side, you have someone like Michael Jordan. He didn't see his thousands of missed shots as a final verdict on his talent. No way. He saw them as information. They were a wake-up call that motivated him to get back in the gym and work even harder. For the growth mindset, failure isn't something you fear or hide. It's an essential, non-negotiable part of the journey to success.
Okay, so let's take this out of the world of sports and see how these mindsets play out in the real world. Because this isn't just about athletes. These beliefs shape everything, from the way a company is run to our most intimate relationships.
In the business world, a fixed mindset leader can lead to something Dweck calls CEO disease. This is what happens when a leader becomes obsessed with their own image of perfection. They stop taking risks, they stop listening to feedback, and they basically surround themselves with people who just tell them how smart they are.
Lee Iacocca, the famous CEO of Chrysler, is a perfect case study. After a huge early success, his fixed mindset kicked into high gear. He became super defensive, totally focused on protecting his legacy. He just kept rolling out the same car models year after year. And in the meantime, his competitors, who had more of a growth mindset, were busy innovating and ended up leaving Chrysler in the dust.
And if you want an even bigger, more catastrophic example, well, look no further than Enron. Their whole corporate culture was built on what's called a talent mindset, which is just the fixed mindset in a business suit. They believe success came from hiring superstars with massive natural talent, not from developing their people.
This worship of raw talent created a super toxic environment. Everyone had to act like an effortless genius all the time. Admitting you made a mistake, or heaven forbid, asking for help, was seen as a major sign of weakness. So what happened? People didn't fix their mistakes. They hid them. And all those hidden mistakes, well, they snowballed into one of the biggest corporate scandals we've ever seen.
And what about in our personal lives? Think about it. When a problem pops up in a relationship, a person with a fixed mindset might think, well, if we were really meant to be, it wouldn't be this hard. They blame their partner's character flaws. But someone with a growth mindset sees it totally differently. They know that every great relationship takes work. Conflict isn't a red flag. It's an opportunity to talk, to understand each other better, and to actually grow closer. Okay, so after hearing all of that, you might be feeling a little discouraged, maybe thinking, uh-oh, I see a little bit of the fixed mindset in myself. But here is the absolute best part. Your mindset is not set in stone. It's just a belief, and beliefs can be changed. You can absolutely 100% learn to cultivate a growth mindset.
One of the most fascinating things Dweck discovered is how our mindsets are formed, and a huge piece of it is the kind of praise we get. Her studies with kids found something pretty mind-blowing. When you tell a child, wow, you're so smart, after they do something well, you're actually pushing them toward a fixed mindset. You're teaching them that the goal is to look smart. But if you praise their effort, wow, you worked so hard on that, you foster a love of challenges and real resilience. And the data from these studies is just incredible. Look at this. After doing well on a puzzle, the kids who were praised for being smart almost all chose an easier puzzle for their next task. Why? They didn't want to risk failing and losing that smart label. But get this, a full 90% of the kids who were praised for their effort chose a harder puzzle next. They were excited to challenge themselves and learn, even if it meant they might struggle.
So how do we make this shift as adults? Dweck gives us 4 really practical steps. Step 1, just start to listen for that fixed mindset voice in your head. You know the one. It's that judgy voice that says, you can't do this, or what if you fail and look stupid? Step 2, realize you have a choice. You don't actually have to believe that voice. Step 3, talk back to it with a growth mindset voice. Respond with things like, I might not know how, yet, or I'm willing to try and learn. And step 4, the most important one, take the growth mindset action. Embrace that challenge. Learn from the setback. Just keep going.
As we start to wrap this up, this quote from Carol Dweck herself really says it all. This isn't just some neat psychological trick. The view you adopt for yourself, whether you believe your abilities are fixed or that they can be grown, it profoundly, deeply affects how you live your life. Because here's the truth. Nobody can actually know your full potential. There's no test that can measure where passion, hard work, and good strategies might take you. So the real question isn't about what you are right now, but what you will choose to become.